What we've got here is just this is an intent viewer, and so we're not going to look at any of the other capabilities here within Studio today. We're going to just focus on this. But one of the things that we do is we've got the ability to publish out all kinds of different, either custom or standard reports that we create. This is a weekly intent viewer, and this one's set up to demonstrate how we can work with TAM accounts. So what we've got is a list of accounts, and this is just a demonstration. So there's 112,000 companies are identified. In this case, we've got the propensity scores as well as intent identified. And what we're just going to show is some ways that we could do this. So, for example, you could come in wanting to either look at specific topics or look at specific domains or intent levels. So you might want to look at only high companies and or whatever. You can look at metro areas. What we're showing in this case, for those that don't know, intent is like a big feed. So this is an example where we've got a little over 7 million distinct domains, about 12,000 topics, and about 500 metro areas in this intent sample. And this is kind of a typical weekly intent sample for people that haven't seen one. So what I'm going to do is just put in one company, and I'm going to put in 3M, and I specifically want to look at just 3M in North America. So I'm going to do 3M.com and 3M Canada, and what we're going to see is this is going to filter down, and it takes just a second because I'm doing this as a live demo for fun. And so it's got to go through that billion records, and now you can see we're going to go down to 41,000. But we've got our two distinct domains. We've got about now. Here's where it gets interesting, right? There's almost 10,000 topics that show up at a company this size, and of course, there's all kinds of metro areas that 3M is doing business. So here, what I'm interested in today, I'm just interested in intent because I want to talk to people about intent. I'm all about intent today. So I'm going to pick some of the intent topics that are specific, like general topics that are specific to intent. We also could pick like different companies show up under topics. Leadspace shows up. Most vendors that you could think of show up. Partners of ours like Bombora show up as topics. So you can also look at really specific things, not just generic topics and categories. So now what we're seeing is when we did those for three specific topics, we've got 5 metro areas. So now if I'm a seller marketing person, I'm either doing campaigns or ABM marketing, this is where this gets really important because I just went from, I wonder if anybody at 3M is interested in what I'm selling to, hey, there's people that are interested in what I'm selling. And this is why the intent scoring is important. And different companies have different philosophies on this, but what you'll see is that what most people do is develop a way to use the scoring where they'll consider that people are in different stages of their journey. And so the way to think about that is if you're at a certain score, and we'll usually say things like if you don't have a methodology, you can start with something like if you're up at anything from we're going to start 50 or even 1. But if you're below 70, then you're going to consider someone's in their learning phase, or they're out collecting information, gathering information, and they're kind of coming up with what is it they're trying to do. And then at some point when they move up into the 80s range, now they're in a decision kind of basis. And so they're going from awareness to now they're trying to curate and make choices and who they're interested in. And then somewhere above 90, they're in buying mode. So they're actually, they're moving into buying mode. So that's why these scores matter when you see, different scores and different topics as far as where anybody's at. So what we would see here, and this is where like if I were a marketing or salesperson, I would be coming down and saying, okay, now I know who the different companies are that I might want to go specifically look at. It's who are my contacts in those companies. And again, this is just an example data set that we're using here to show stuff. So that's where all this comes up. So that's how you could use a general purpose intent explorer from us. Now let's look at a TAM tool. And the way this would be used is, again, it's similar to what we had before, but now what we've got is a more developed TAM tool where what we're looking at is in this data set, we've got, what was it? Yeah, about 16,000 companies that are set up. And again, it's a total addressable market for this example. And what we're showing is both target accounts and white space. So again, if we come down here, and the purpose of the map is to make it, more interactive, so that you can kind of, do your own investigation, curation. And so what we're default showing here is by state, what are the number of target versus white space accounts. And again, if I want to come up and start using intent, in this case, we've got four different models that are set up. And so we could go search by model and start to filter. Um, and in fact, we'll do that. So if we have on the marketing model, we're going to look for people that are showing intent for the topics that are within the marketing model. We may only want to look at people with high intent in marketing, and that's going to again now take us down to 3,850. And this might be where, depending on what my job is, I'm now going to say, hey, I'm only looking for, let's see, I'm in the oil and gas industry, so I'm looking for people that are, doing drilling oil and gas wells. And I have no idea if anybody's going to show up on that. I literally just picked it. Hey, that's pretty cool, and you can believe me on that or not. But so we got Schlumberger. So Schlumberger is showing, intent there, and they're in my TAM. And now maybe I want to, go do something there. So again, this is just the way this one's set up. In this example, what we're also doing is we're pre-setting up the the segments for export. So if I go back, we won't do it to where it's that small. We'll do it for the 3,800. What we're doing is we're setting this up so that when we're doing the filters, it's creating two different segments for export for activation. This one is a marketing segment, so it's got specific information we need to go create audiences when we do deployment. This one has actually way more fields in it because it's set up for an export for data science for different information. And what we're able to do is just set those up, and they can be auto exported, in fact, if we wanted to. So that's the first parts of our demo.